The night Daniel Carter saw the black SUV disappear around the corner, he almost kept walking. He was exhausted, his 10-year-old daughter was waiting at home, and he had spent the entire day worrying about how he would pay next month's rent. But something about the vehicle bothered him. The way it had stopped. The way two men had dragged a woman into the back seat. And most of all, the tiny detail nobody else on the street seemed to notice: the driver had deliberately covered the rear license plate with a piece of dark tape. Daniel froze beneath the flickering streetlight because he knew exactly what that meant. He had once been trained to notice details like that, to understand danger before it arrived. He had promised himself he would never use those skills again. But that night, a woman's life depended on whether he broke that promise. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one brave decision can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindverse. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to life. Daniel had spent the last 6 years trying to become an ordinary man. He worked as a maintenance technician at a small apartment complex, fixed broken elevators, repaired leaking pipes, and occasionally took extra jobs on weekends. His world was simple, sometimes painfully simple. His daughter, Lily, was the center of everything. After Daniel's wife passed away from an illness, he had learned to braid Lily's hair, pack her lunches, help with school projects, and hide his own worries behind a smile whenever she asked if everything was going to be okay. Money was always tight, but Daniel never allowed Lily to feel poor. He taught her that a small home could still be filled with love, that an old bicycle could still carry wonderful memories, and that having little did not mean being less. What Lily did not know was that her father had once lived a completely different life. Years earlier, Daniel had worked in specialized security and emergency response. He had been trained in surveillance, defensive driving, tracking, and recognizing patterns that ordinary people never noticed. He had spent years protecting people in dangerous situations, but after losing someone close to him during an operation, Daniel walked away. He wanted nothing more to do with violence or danger. He wanted to raise his daughter somewhere quiet. He wanted to wake up every morning without wondering whether someone would come home that night. So he buried his past, took an ordinary job, and became simply Lily's dad. But old instincts do not disappear completely. That evening, Daniel had been walking home after repairing a broken heating system at a nearby office building when he noticed the SUV. It was parked beside a closed restaurant, engine running. A woman in an expensive business suit stood near the sidewalk, apparently checking her phone. Then two men approached her from behind. Everything happened in seconds. One grabbed her arm. Another covered her mouth. She struggled, but they forced her into the vehicle. Daniel's heart began pounding. He could have called the police and waited. That would have been the safest choice. But something told him the kidnappers had planned this carefully. There were no screams from nearby witnesses. No obvious weapons. No panic. It was too organized. Daniel called emergency services while following the SUV from a distance. He did not chase recklessly. Instead, he watched. He memorized the vehicle, the route, the turns, and the unusual markings on its rear bumper. He noticed the SUV avoided major roads and entered an industrial district where abandoned warehouses stood beneath broken security lights. Daniel stopped several blocks away. His old training told him to leave. His heart told him otherwise. He thought about Lily. He imagined what it would feel like if someone took her and everyone decided it was too dangerous to help. That thought destroyed his hesitation. Daniel approached the warehouse carefully. Through a cracked window, he saw the kidnapped woman sitting in a chair with her hands restrained. 3 men were inside. One of them stood near the door, another watched the woman, and the third was speaking on a phone. Daniel recognized the woman then. She was Victoria Hale, the CEO of Hale Technologies, one of the most successful technology companies in the city. Daniel had seen her picture in newspapers. She was known for building her company from nothing after inheriting a struggling business from her father. She was wealthy, powerful, and constantly surrounded by security. Yet now she was alone in a dark warehouse with no one coming to save her. Daniel knew he could not overpower 3 men. So he relied on the one thing he still possessed, his ability to think under pressure. He noticed a delivery truck parked behind the warehouse. He noticed an electrical panel on the side wall. He noticed that the warehouse lights were connected to an old external breaker. And he noticed something even more important: the kidnappers had left a side door unsecured. Daniel created a distraction. The warehouse suddenly went dark. One of the men rushed toward the electrical panel. Another reached for his phone. In those few seconds, Daniel moved through the side entrance. He reached Victoria, cut the restraints, and guided her toward the back exit. But they were almost outside when a man spotted them. The next moments were chaotic. Daniel pushed Victoria behind a stack of crates as the attacker rushed toward them. Daniel used his training to defend himself without trying to cause unnecessary harm. He blocked the man's attack, forced him backward, and knocked his weapon away. Victoria ran when Daniel told her to move. Then sirens echoed through the industrial district. Daniel had called the police before entering, giving them the warehouse location and everything he knew. The kidnappers were arrested. Victoria was safe. But Daniel disappeared before anyone could ask who he was. He returned home just before midnight, quietly opened the front door, and found Lily asleep on the couch waiting for him. Her schoolbook lay open beside her. A small lamp illuminated her tired face. Daniel stood there for a moment, overwhelmed. He had risked everything that night, yet the first thing he felt was not pride. It was fear. He understood how close he had come to leaving his daughter without a father. The following morning, news stations were filled with stories about Victoria Hale's rescue. Everyone wanted to know who had saved her. Police confirmed that an unidentified man had provided crucial information and helped authorities capture the kidnappers. Victoria refused to let the mystery remain. She remembered Daniel's face. She remembered the calm way he had moved through the darkness. And she remembered the first thing he asked after freeing her, not whether she was grateful, not whether she could reward him, but whether she was hurt. Victoria began searching for him. Meanwhile, Daniel returned to work as though nothing had happened. But his life was about to change. A week later, Victoria walked into the apartment complex where Daniel worked. She found him repairing a broken elevator panel while Lily sat nearby doing homework. Daniel looked up and immediately recognized her. Victoria thanked him. Daniel told her he had only done what anyone should do. But Victoria knew that was not true. She had spoken with investigators. She knew the details of what he had done. She knew he had risked his life while having a young daughter waiting at home. Then Victoria noticed Lily's worn school bag. She noticed the old shoes. She noticed the way Daniel carefully counted the cash in his wallet before taking Lily out for lunch. For the first time, Victoria understood that the man who had saved her was not wealthy, powerful, or famous. He was struggling. Yet despite his own problems, he had still chosen to help a stranger. Victoria offered Daniel a job overseeing security and emergency preparedness for her company. Daniel initially refused because he did not want to return to the life he had abandoned. Victoria did not pressure him. Instead, she offered him something different. A stable position. Better hours. Health benefits. And enough income that Lily would never again have to worry about whether her father could afford her school supplies. Daniel eventually accepted, not because he wanted money, but because he realized that accepting help was sometimes another form of courage. His new job changed everything. Daniel became responsible for protecting hundreds of employees, but he did it differently from the security professionals who had worked there before. He taught people how to recognize danger, how to stay calm during emergencies, and how to protect one another. He turned his painful past into something useful. Victoria also changed. Before Daniel entered her life, she had spent years believing that success meant control. She trusted contracts, security systems, lawyers, and business strategies. She had built walls around herself so high that very few people could reach her. Daniel showed her something she had forgotten. Sometimes the person who changes your life is not the person with the most money. Sometimes it is the person who sees you in your darkest moment and chooses not to walk away. Over time, Victoria became close to Daniel and Lily. She helped Lily prepare for a science competition, attended her school presentation, and even learned how to make the pancakes Daniel always burned. There was no instant transformation. There were awkward moments. There were misunderstandings. There were days when Daniel worried that Victoria was trying to rescue him instead of respecting him. Victoria had to learn that helping someone did not mean controlling their life. They both learned. And slowly, the walls came down. Months later, Daniel received a letter from Lily's school informing him that she had won a scholarship for academic achievement. Daniel read the letter twice. Then he sat in his car and cried. Not because of the scholarship itself. Because for the first time in years, he realized that Lily was growing up without carrying the weight of his struggles. That evening, Victoria came to their small home for dinner. Lily proudly showed her the scholarship letter. Daniel watched the two of them laughing together and felt something he had not allowed himself to feel for a very long time. Hope. A year after the kidnapping, Victoria stood on a stage in front of hundreds of employees during the company's annual gathering. She announced a new foundation designed to provide scholarships and emergency assistance to single parents facing financial hardship. She named the foundation after Daniel's daughter, Lily. Daniel sat in the audience, stunned. Victoria explained that the foundation was inspired by one simple lesson: people do not always need someone to save them. Sometimes they simply need someone to believe they deserve a second chance. Daniel looked at Lily. She was smiling. And for a moment, the entire room disappeared. He remembered the lonely years after his wife's death. The unpaid bills. The sleepless nights. The fear of failing his daughter. The promise he had made to himself never to return to his old life. He realized he had not broken that promise. He had transformed it. His secret skill had once been used to survive dangerous situations. Now it was being used to protect people, teach others, and build a better future for his daughter. Victoria had changed his life, but not by giving him money. She changed his life by reminding him that his past did not have to define his future. And Daniel changed hers by reminding her that behind every title, every fortune, and every powerful name was simply a human being who sometimes needed someone to care. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Kindverse. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need a little hope today. Before we end, I have one special request. Comment, "Kindness always wins," if you believe that one good person can change another person's life. Because sometimes the biggest heroes are not the people standing on stages. They are ordinary people walking home after work. Single parents trying to make ends meet. People carrying invisible pain while still choosing to help someone else. Daniel thought he was saving a stranger that night. He never realized he was also saving himself. And Victoria thought she was giving Daniel a second chance. She never realized that he had already given her one first. Sometimes life brings two broken paths together at exactly the right moment. One person needs courage. Another needs hope. And somehow, through one act of kindness, both find what they were missing. That night, Daniel used a secret skill to save a CEO from kidnappers. But the greatest thing he saved was not Victoria's life. It was the belief that even after loss, fear, and years of struggle, a person can still begin again. And sometimes, all it takes is one brave choice to change a life forever.